You've just put your head in the race. How would you deal with Brexit?
Well, the first thing that we've got to recognise is until Brexit is resolved, it's going to be impossible for us as a government to talk about any of the other really important things we need to talk about. So Brexit has got to be delivered. We've got to honour that manifesto commitment, the commitment that we made in the 2017 general election. And that means resolving the issue with the Irish border. Right. And that can only be done with goodwill between the UK government and the Irish government and the EU. And ideally we leave with a deal, but we have got to leave.
But so how would you actually deliver it, right? So day two, what, you go to Brussels, try to renegotiate with the new Commission. What happens if they say no?
Well, if you look at the letter that the EU Task Force 50 published on the 11th of March, paragraph 2 of that makes an explicit commitment that alternative arrangements, if they can be put in place, can resolve the issue of the Northern Irish backstop. And that's the sticking point. That's why this has been so problematic getting through the House of Commons. So that's where we've got to focus our attention. That's where the answer lies. If we can get that resolved in quick order, or if we can have a path to resolution, I think we can get this deal through the House. And the simple truth, as you said in your package, if we can't get out without a deal, we have got to leave anyway, even though that's not my desired outcome.
On October 31st, or would you be prepared to extend?
No, look, what we've seen with extension is extension breeds indecision. And the last thing we need now in this situation is more indecision. I talk to business people all the time, and the uncertainty is killing them. Not knowing whether or not we are going to be leaving, that's causing real difficulties. So we've got to provide certainty. We've got to be decisive. We've got to make sure that we deliver on the promise and give certainty to businesses and voters.
But if you contemplate a no-deal Brexit, you need Parliament behind you.
Well, the simple truth of the matter is Parliament has rejected every single option, because there are only 3 ways that this can be resolved. We leave with a deal, we leave without a deal, and we don't leave. Now, at some time or another, Parliament has rejected all 3 of those options. So Parliament's going to have to change its mind in at least one place. And what I hope is they'll change their mind about a deal. OK,
would you be in favour of a second referendum to put this to rest?
No, again, because all you're doing is you're adding more time, you're adding more uncertainty, you're not certain of what the outcome will be. And ultimately, as I say, the political risk, as well as the economic risk of not leaving, is really substantial. And I think we need to be aware of that for markets, for businesses, for the people that watch your show.
But as you say, it's so difficult to actually understand what Parliament would get behind. What about a general election? I mean, is this the only way to kind of get through the rut? Right, to have some kind of change in Parliament so that we understand better what they want.
Well, if you look at the projections at the moment, the polling, it doesn't look as if a general election would produce a result any more conclusive than the one we've got at the moment. And indeed, it's entirely feasible it would be an even more fragmented Parliament. What we need to do is stop kicking the can down the road. We need to be honest.
No.
We need to be decisive. We need to get Brexit delivered, and then we can start talking about the other things that will help stimulate growth in the UK economy, about the importance of educating our workforce and that kind of stuff. But Brexit has got to come first.
But isn't Brexit the impossible task? Because you're right, there are 3 options at the end, but there's like 25 ways of getting to one of those options.
Yeah, and those routes are a distraction. And this is the point. You can always find displacement activity. You can always find some excuse for not confronting the difficult decision. But ultimately, UK politics has got to confront, what do we want to do? Do we want to leave with a deal, leave without a deal, or not leave? And I've been clear, I would much prefer to leave with a deal.
Were you shocked at how badly the Conservatives did in the EU election?
It wasn't unpredicted. We knew it was coming. It was painful nonetheless, but it reinforces my belief that really, until we deliver Brexit, it's going to be impossible for us to have a proper, mature conversation about the other things that really matter to people, their jobs, their lives, the schools for their children, the hospitals that they and their parents rely upon. And that's what we need to get back to.
Do you think you'll be one of the 2? That gets chosen, the final 2?
That's why I put myself forward. If I didn't think I was going to be one of the final 2, I wouldn't put myself forward. Absolutely.
OK, and if you're in the final 2, can you really take on Boris Johnson if he were to be the other one?
Absolutely. And again, I mean, what we saw last time is that the Prime Minister ultimately was selected without being properly tested by the party. And I am absolutely sure that I have the skills and attributes needed to lead the party and the country. And I want the opportunity to prove that to the party and the country.
How much experience do you need in that job?
Well, I've got plenty of experience. I was instrumental in running City Hall in London before I became an MP. I was involved in business before that. And if you look at the trend going around the world in global politics, people are rejecting the same old faces with the same old arguments. They're voting for something new. And as a Conservative leader, if we want to have a credible chance of winning an election and governing the country, we need to look different, we need to sound different, we need to offer something new. And I don't think necessarily that can be done by people who have sat around the cabinet table for years.
If you don't get the top job, what job would you want?
I'm going for the top job.
But what if you don't get it? Would you serve under Prime Minister Boris Johnson?
I'm not going to speculate about not being successful. That's not my mindset. I'm in this because I think I've got the ability to build a team, make tough decisions and communicate those decisions. That's what we need in the next leader of the Conservative Party, the next Prime Minister. That's what I bring. That's why I'm fighting to win.
Okay, so what do you do in the next 10 days?
Well,
is it lobbying? Is it, there's
yes,
not a campaign bus, is
it's
there?
talking to, it's not a campaign bus, or indeed a coach. Look, it's talking to people like you, it's talking to your viewers, it's demonstrating that I and the people around me have got a plan for the UK, both the voters and UK businesses, and yes, of course, it's talking to MPs, because the first electorate are my Conservative colleagues in Parliament, the next electorate is the wider party, and ultimately at some point in the future, 2022, the broadest electorate will be the British people, and we have got to have a credible message to take to the country when that election comes.